Okay, so today I'm going to read chapter 2 in here. This is Awesome Friendly Spooky Stories. Today I'm reading The Prankster. In a little seaside village somewhere in Europe, there lived a man named Jasper, and everyone knew who Jasper was because he was the village prankster. Most of Jasper's pranks were pretty harmless. One time, he covered the baker's car in gift wrap, and another time, he filled the village's only phone booth with popcorn. Sometimes Jasper would even prank his own family members, and his mother would never really forgave him for gluing all of their furniture to the ceiling. But Jasper's most famous prank was the time he put the mayor's underwear up a flagpole, which everyone thought was pretty hilarious. Well, everyone except the mayor. That was the thing about Jasper's pranks. Most people thought they were pretty hilarious unless they were the one being pranked. Anyway, one morning, Jasper woke up trying to figure out who he was gonna prank next. He couldn't decide if he wanted to toilet paper his next door neighbor's house or replace the baker's cream-filled donuts with toothpaste. The toilet paper thing felt like a lot of work, and it had been a while since Jasper pranked Joris, the baker. So Jasper decided he'd go with the donut thing for today. Jasper got out of bed and brushed his hair, then headed up the hill to the bakery. And on the way there, he passed a few people he knew. He waved to Marion, the dressmaker, and Mickey, the cheesemonger, but neither one waved back. But he figured they were just sore at him for covering their shop windows in mustard the week before. Things got stranger. When Jasper walked into the bakery, his friend Dieter, the shoemaker, was walking out, and when Jasper said hello, Dieter ignored him. And a few seconds later, when Marta, the librarian, walked in to buy her daily baguette, she walked past Jasper like she didn't even see him. When Marta went to the counter to buy her bread, Joris was distracted. And that's when Jasper made his move. He pulled the tube of toothpaste out of his pocket and grabbed the glass lid off the donut platter. Or at least he tried to. Because when Jasper reached for the lid, his hand went right through it. Jasper was so confused that he ran outside and onto the street. But what happened next upset him even more. Because when he stood in front of the mirror shop, he didn't have a reflection. Jasper realized that no one could see or hear him. And when he made a complete fool of himself, nobody noticed. Even when Jasper barged in on the Mommy and Me class at the yoga studio, everyone just kept doing their thing like he didn't exist. Jasper tried talking himself into thinking this was a good thing because if no one could see him, he could pull off some really epic pranks. Just then, a line of people walked past Jasper. There was Brom, his best friend growing up, and his first school teacher, Mrs. Van Ditch. Everyone was dressed in black and looked really sad. Then Jasper saw his own mother at the back of the line, bawling her eyes out. Everyone had headed into the church, so Jasper followed them inside. And even though Jasper knew no one could see him, he felt a little underdressed. So he sat in the back pew by himself. It didn't take long for Jasper to figure out that he was at the funeral, but he was still pretty shocked when he realized who the funeral was for. The preacher said the guy who died was toilet papering someone's front yard when he got struck by lightning. And you probably already figured out that person was Jasper. So now Jasper knew the truth. He wasn't invisible at all. He was dead. and he had to sit there while everyone came up to the front of the church to say a few words. Usually, at funerals, people say nice things about the person who died, but all everyone could talk about was Jasper's annoying pranks. For the first time ever, Jasper could see that sometimes he took his pranks too far, and he wished he could live his whole life over again and become a fisherman, or a librarian, or just about anything other than the village prankster. After the last person spoke, it was time for final goodbyes, and when Jasper's mom went up to the casket, it was a little hard for Jasper to watch. Jasper had no idea what you're supposed to do at a funeral when you're the person who died, so even though it felt weird, he went up to say his goodbyes too. But there wasn't a body in the casket at all. There was just a pumpkin with a face drawn on it, which kind of looked like Jasper. Then everyone started laughing at once, and that's the moment Jasper realized he wasn't really dead and that he was the one being pranked. Jasper was happy he was alive, but to be honest, he was annoyed that the other villagers got him so good. Besides, he had a lot of questions. For one thing, he couldn't figure out how his hand went through that glass donut lid at the bakery. Then Joris explained that his nephew was a whiz with technology, and the whole donut platter was a hologram. And when Jasper asked why he couldn't see his reflection in the mirror, the guy who owned the mirror shop said he replaced the mirrors with televisions that showed an empty sidewalk. Then, the people who were in the yoga studio said they almost lost it when Jasper walked in on their class. It turned out the whole village was in on the joke, and since pranking was kind of Jasper's thing, he had a hard time admitting they got him. Jasper told everyone it was a decent prank, but his were way better. Then the preacher said this was actually a double prank because the day before, a meteor wiped out the village and everyone in it. That meant they were all dead and everyone was a ghost. Well, this was the second time Jasper found out he was dead in one day, but this time he didn't take it as hard. Jasper always wanted to travel, and if he was a ghost, he could fly wherever he wanted. So he climbed to the top of the lighthouse and aimed himself towards Paris. But it turns out the story about the meteor was a prank too, and this time the villagers thought maybe they were the ones who took the prank a little too far. The end. Thank y'all for listening. I'll read another story tomorrow. Bye.